Hey guys, so welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing another relationship video as usual. The basis of my relationship video is something that I feel like a lot of people struggle with. I don't feel like it's talked about enough. I don't feel like, people can, kind of just feel like, oh, I get it. Oh, that relates to me. So I feel like, although it's not addressed a lot, I feel like a lot of people can relate to this particular issue. The things that I want my videos to incorporate is reality. Romance and falling in love, staying in love, finding that person that you're supposed to be with isn't always going to go as planned, and we know that. There's going to be things that get in our way. We are not always going to necessarily find that person that we envision ourselves being with. It's not always going to be a fairy tale. There's going to be things that affect our ability to fall in love, to stay in love, and things of life are always going to be in a way that could possibly hinder our relationships, damage our relationships, and ultimately affect our relationships. And I want to be able to give my advice to you from a standpoint that is of reality, so that you're able to say, hey, I get this, this relates to me, what can I do, what can I get from this video that relates to my relationships, and what can I learn from this to possibly aid in my relationships, or just in general, even if you're not in a relationship, if you're out in the dating world. So today I'm going to be talking about intimacy and intimacy. Why does intimacy scare you? So maybe you're afraid to get close to someone, you're afraid to let someone touch you physically, to open up to someone emotionally. Why are you scared of intimacy? To begin with, I'm going to tell you that intimacy, you have to break up the misconception that intimacy is going to be like what you see in the movies. In all actuality, in reality, it's nothing like the movies. It looks so easy, so effortless. Two strangers meet at a coffee shop, they lock eyes, they fall in love, they have so much in common. You have this instant physical and emotional connection, and it's happily ever after. Unfortunately, it's not like that in the real world. You're going to experience a lot of awkwardness. You're going to experience a lot of butterflies. You're going to experience a lot of things that you don't see in the movies. So you have to break that misconception right now. So right now I'm going to give you intimacy, just the basic groundwork, things that you already know about intimacy, definitions, things like that, things that you've already heard, just so that I can build on what I'm going to tell you within the next few minutes. So I took notes, so if you see me looking down, it's just because that I'm actually reading the definitions that I actually got, so that you guys can have a clear understanding of it, what it is exactly, even though you've already heard it. But like I said, so I'm able to build on what I'm going to tell you later. So why are you afraid to open up? So here's a definition for intimacy. Intimacy is a close familiarity or friendship, closeness, and here's some synonyms for intimacy. It is a closeness, togetherness, affinity, attachment, familiarity, affection, warmth. And I didn't underline this word because I did not associate intimacy with confidence, and confidence is actually a synonym for intimacy. And when you think about it, it actually makes sense. In order to be intimate, in order to be able to open up to someone, in order to allow someone to become close to you, you have to have this level of confidence. You have to be able to have dealt with your insecurities, things that possibly affected your ability to be confident. So ultimately you have to be able to address those things before you're actually able to be intimate with someone, because if you still have insecurities, that's going to affect your level of confidence. And if your confidence is affected, it's going to affect your ability to allow someone to become close to you. So as humans, we have this general desire to be intimate, to be loved, to be cared for. And you're probably wondering, as I did too, because I've had problems with intimacy, and you're probably wondering, well, okay, we all have this general desire to have intimacy, but I don't, maybe I wasn't born, maybe that's not in my makeup, maybe I was not meant to be with someone, maybe it's not meant for me to have someone to care for, maybe it's not meant for me to be intimate, to feel loved, to love someone. Maybe that's just not in my genetic makeup, or maybe that's not in my makeup. I have to be the one to say that I actually don't believe that. And I'm not just talking in terms of falling in love, finding your one true love, But intimacy, the desire, intimacy doesn't also just involve romantic relationships. It also involves friendships with your friends, loved ones, people around you that you care for. That is the level of intimacy, not necessarily romantic intimacy, but intimacy on a more of a friendship or a phileo type of love. So when you're looking at that type of intimacy, we all desire to have that in our lives. And so to say it was not, I was not born to love, I was not born to have a desire to be intimate with someone, to open up, to connect with someone, is not true, because we all have this innate desire to be loved. And I also believe that we all have this desire to even have intimate type of love, where we actually have a deeper connection with with a significant other. I actually believe that as well. You just have to be able to find out why you're feeling this way and to be able to overcome that. It's not necessarily that you weren't made up to fall in love, or that you're just this person that's not supposed to have love, a physical type of love or emotional type of love with a significant other. So why are you scared to open up? Here are some possible reasons, but before I get to those reasons, I want to give you the 3 types levels of intimacy. The first level of intimacy is physical. This is a sensual proximity, touching, hugging, kissing. So you may have problems with the first level of intimacy before you even get to those other levels of intimacy. Physical intimacy may be a problem for you. So maybe you've been in a relationship with someone and you just didn't like to hold hands. You didn't like to touch. You felt really uncomfortable with someone grabbing your hand or putting their arms around you or sitting really close to you or just touching you in general. Physical intimacy may be a big problem for you. And it has been for me in the past. I personally do not like showing public displays of affection. I never really like holding hands in public. I just feel really gross. But to each his own. I don't feel like, you know, physical intimacy in public is a big deal, but for some people, physical intimacy can really affect your relationship, and it really just depends on who you're with and how they feel about physical intimacy. So physical intimacy, like I said, involves touching, kissing, holding hands, etc. You know what? So emotional intimacy, which is a deeper level of intimacy, which I feel like emotional intimacy can ultimately affect a relationship. Emotional intimacy involves opening up to someone, being able to have deep conversations, open up about your past, your experiences, things that you've been guarded about, things that you don't share with anybody else. In order to have this emotional intimacy, there has to be a level of trust that's involved. So maybe you may not necessarily have problems with physical intimacy. That's no problem. You have no problems kissing, hugging, whatever it may be. But then you get to the second level of intimacy and you start having problems. Why? Because you have problems trusting. You have problems opening up to people because you've had problems with trust in the past. And so maybe you're just a very guarded person, and that ultimately, although you may not necessarily have problems with physical intimacy, as your relationship progresses, you're going to have problems ultimately because you're having problems opening up, sharing your emotions, letting people know how you feel, because of things that you dealt with in your past. And the last part of intimacy is cognitive intellectual, and this involves sharing thoughts, ideas, and similarities. So this type of intimacy is kind of part of the intimacy that you have with your friends, people that you care about, just friendship, parents, people that you know. This is being able to share thoughts, your feelings about the world, your beliefs, and things like that. So cognitive intimacy is not something that many people struggle with. I personally don't. I mean, I can, talk about things, just basic general things, my beliefs, my thoughts, and all that. The thing that I have problems with is emotional intimacy and a little bit of physical intimacy as well, is just allowing someone to get close to me and allowing myself to open up and share things with people. So physical and emotional intimacy is what I struggle with the most. And I'm going to tell you why you're possibly struggling with these forms of intimacy. Definitely number one is your experiences. These experiences may include terrible breakup, your upbringing, and ultimately having trust issues. in regards to your upbringing or a bad breakup or so forth. So your upbringing. Maybe you were brought up in a household where your parents didn't necessarily tell you that they loved you. They didn't give you hugs or kisses and, you know, affirmation and things like that. So you're always told to hold your emotions in. Don't let people see you cry. Don't let people, don't show your emotions to people. Always be stoic. Don't let people read you and figure you out. And so not necessarily that your parents didn't love you, but they didn't necessarily say it a lot. So that affects your ability to be open, to be vulnerable, to trust, because you're always told to hold in your emotions. And just simply going through a bad breakup can affect your ability to trust another person because you were put in a bad situation and it was something that you had difficulties overcoming. And so that's going to affect your ability to trust someone and open up on that emotional level of intimacy. And the second reason is insecurities, which I feel like is a very, very common thing. Is insecurities. Maybe you have scars, which ultimately can affect your physical intimacy, or maybe you just have problems. Maybe you're too short, maybe you feel like you're too fat, too tall, too skinny. Wherever that insecurity may be, it's ultimately going to affect your ability to be physically intimate as well as emotionally intimate, because you're scared to open up to someone, because you're scared, oh, if I get too close, they're eventually gonna have to see this scar that I have. If I get too close, they're eventually gonna see you know, how fat I am or how skinny I am or whatever it may be. So this is going to affect your ability to open up physically and emotionally. And last but not least, personality, which kind of goes in with upbringing. Maybe you were just always had this strong personality. Oh, I don't need a man to make me feel complete. I don't need a man to rescue me. I don't need a man to take care of me. So you always had this confident, go-getter personality. I don't need anybody. I can take care of myself. So ultimately, this is going to affect your ability to let somebody in because you feel like you don't need help. You feel like, oh, I can do it all by myself. Why do I need a man? I don't need a man. I just have my friends and that's all I need. And so that's a very, very strong woman. So that's going to take a little bit of time to say, hey, you know what? It's okay to bring a man in. That doesn't mean that I'm weak. That doesn't mean that I can't take care of myself by letting another individual in. So those are some of the three reasons why possibly intimacy is a big deal or issue for you. What can you do to overcome these insecurities, to overcome these intimacy issues? I can tell you right now that it's something that is not going to happen overnight. And I can tell you that it has affected a lot of relationships that you have been in because you have these problems with intimacy. It has affected my ability as well because, you know, I have these problems opening up to people and being vulnerable. So it has affected me. What can I tell you is that it's not going to happen overnight. You have to be able to be honest with yourself, to look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I have these problems with intimacy. I have this insecurity, or I've dealt with this thing in the past and I need to overcome this. So the first thing is to identify what is bringing on these insecurities and bringing on these things that's affecting your ability to be intimate. As soon as you identify those things, start working on it little by little. Start tackling it. And just the first thing that you have to do is also be honest with yourself. You're the only person that you have to address. You don't have to talk to anybody else about your intimacy issues. You just have to be able to address yourself and to be honest with yourself. Being honest with yourself is the first step, and then addressing and tackling those issues. Like I said, it's not going to happen overnight. These insecurities, these intimacy issues did not happen overnight. So ultimately, don't, you know, think that this is something that's going to take place within the next 2 days, within the next week it's going to be tackled, and then boom, you move on and you're happy, you're in a good relationship. This is going to be something that's going to happen over time. And I don't suggest getting into a relationship until you're 100% sure that you can open up and be honest with someone and be real with someone. Because a relationship will not work if you're not 100% sure that you have tackled those issues that you have with intimacy. It may not take several years, but it could take several months, several weeks. and then slowly get back out in the dating world. Start experiencing dating and start having fun with it again. And start little by little. Don't overshare, but also don't undershare. Be in between. Start opening up about things about yourself and allow that person to come in. I can tell you that if you do these things, you're ultimately going to attack your issues with intimacy. I feel like, you know, because the way you're brought up is always going to affect how you are. It's going to be something that will take time, like I said, but keep working on it, and just do the best that you can, and don't think that it's not meant for you to love. Don't ever think that you're not meant to be in love because you don't have that one true person or that person that you feel like you can open up to. Once you deal with these issues, you will be able to open up and have this perfect intimate relationship with someone. So that is my advice to you. If you have any other questions or concerns, please leave your feedback. And again, I want to thank you for watching. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. And I hope to talk to you guys soon. Bye.